Okay, so I thought I was going to show you another page I made in this lovely book. Um, on the last page, I covered the pages, but on this page, I reached a point in the book where I love the illustrations, and I want to show you how you can still incorporate that. So on the right side, you can sort of see birds. I'm going to leave that page be because I love it. This page I'm going to work on just the left side, and you see it's a really pretty little flower wreath thingy, and it's a poem about Swedish flowers. And I don't want to cover it, but I still want to work with the page. So I'm going to use Reeves water-soluble wax pastels. This is a pack of 24 and I had it forever, and it's not in frame. You can see some other crayons, but they're looking a bit abused. But that just means that they are very loved. So, uh, on the page behind you can see it was a drawing, and that is also some of the pages I will leave because those are illustrations from Elsa Beskow, and I mean you can paint over that. So I'm going to start with the background here, and I started with light orange, then yellow and green, and in this corner I'm going to go with the orange. And as you can see, I add a lot of color, but I can still clearly see the text and the illustrations, and that will remain throughout this. But we will trick the eye to not see it that sort of. So I'm going to add some bit more green because I want that to be a bit gradation from green to the orange. You won't really think about it when the page is done, but having an interesting background is a good thing. And when I say interesting background, I mean this. Something that has interest, but it doesn't take over. It is a background. So I'm going to focus, because this is a poem about flowers, I'm going to draw a big flower really. And this is actually the first time I'm using the Reeves on this in this book. And it's really, really great. I mean, the quality of the paper in this book is, I could not be happier. So the Reeves are working excellent. Now, another thing I want to talk to you about is I switched brush when I started with this flower. Before I had a very big, fluffy watercolor brush, and now I have a brush with a very, the tip is, it's not fluffy, it's very pointy. And that is because I wanted to keep the line within the flower, and I wanted to smudge it out too much. I want to keep it that. So that is why I use it. But it's still big, so I can smear it, but I still keep the line pretty easily. It's just confusing. So on the main flower I'm going to go with a magenta, and on the back petal you can see here it's going to be more of a violet, and that is just to get a bit more dimension and like, hey, I mean, it's a flower on top and it's a flower on the bottom, or the petals laying differently. And I love the colors together. Now this white crayon lights up, but it won't be opaque white. So the leaves I'm going to start with a blue. And you might say, hey, why? But the blue works great with the magenta and the violet, and I'm going to go in with green later. So in the end it will be you will read it as a green leaf, but it will have a lot of the blue in it, and who doesn't love gray and blue and green? So, and same thing there, doing a lot of pushing the color. And in this video I didn't cut away when I dry the page, and just because I want you to see that how often I actually dry and how quickly it does dry. Because if you don't dry it, the paper will shred or crumble up, even if it is a good quality page. And if you have watercolor paper, it will do that. The fibers will come loose. So it's important to be nice to your paper. Here you see I go in with the green, and I also get the shape of the leaf. You can see the water in the glass is starting to look really muddy now. But that is also important that you clean your brush if you want to keep the really amazing colors that these pastels have. So yes, I think that is about it, and I'm going to start with the next step, which is really going to lift this whole thing, which is a fluid liquid acrylic paint in white. Now this is it is opaque, but you have to use it a couple of times. Um, and here you can see on the left side of the petal I go in with a thick line, and on the right side I go in with a very thin line, and just get some variation. And I'm outlining the flowers and the petals and the leaves, and then I'm going to go in with some doodling. Also, you can see I will go over some lines a few times, and that is because some lines I really want to be that stark white opaque, and then you have to go it over a few times because um, the what do you call it, the opacity of the paint is like in the bottom of this ink jar, and sometimes you can't get it up properly, or you don't like dig it through. Anyway, so I'm starting here on the back petals. I don't want the whole petals to be doodled, but I do want some interest in them. So that is why I'm starting right now. And you can see on the petal that the white is sort of pinkish, and now you can see it's not completely opaque. And you can go over it more times because it will be completely opaque. It didn't really bother me because it's white. So anyway, so I'm going to do some dots on the leaves, but not on every single one. That is also a effect that you can do, not every single one. And then just going to do it around the flower, mimicking the sort of pattern I have on the top of that orange petal. Now, you can see in the flowers behind it, I'm going to sort of, I was really inspired by that, and I'm going to do some flowers or line work behind my flower to mimic that, those flowers that are originally in the page. You can hear my excellent communicating skills. So you can see us starting on this one, and just so you get a feel of it, you sort of bring out what was already there. And then the last one. And I mean, just a page with having that background and these flowers would be really pretty. And as a final touch, cleaning the brush is really important, because otherwise it will dry, because it is acrylic paint and the brush will go completely stiff, believe me. uh, anyway, final thing, I'm going to use these Perfect Pearl mists, and I'm going to use kiwi on the background. That is all you have to see, and then you can see the pink on the flower because the white is not white. So here you can see the finished page. Yeah, I really like the colors of it, and that you can see the flowers but still see what's underneath it. You can see the pink in the flowers right here. You can see all the shimmering, puddling up, and you can also see the kiwi. So I hope you give this really easy trick a try, and have a great week.